Thank you to everyone who's joining us today on LinkedIn. Great to see you here. I'm Joanna. I'm working as a project manager at the International Design Center Berlin and, of course, the UX Design Awards. And today, in this deep dive, we're going to be focusing on the Gold Award-winning product from last year's season. So this is a very interesting product that convinced the jurors through its skillfully designed holistic approach. And I'm talking about a coffee grinder that was made for Mahlkönig. And the designers behind this coffee grinder are from Imago Design. And today I will be joined by Camillo König, who is an industrial designer and competence lead of mechanical engineering, as well as Bastian Renner, who is senior UI and UX designer at Imago Design. And I will hand over to you both in a minute. Firstly, I want to briefly mention our open call, which is currently running until the 31st of May. So approximately another month. So if you're working on great UX and thinking about entering the awards, now is the time. And a little bit more as well about our virtual event series. As mentioned, we invite award-winning designers and teams to present their work and share knowledge with our UX design community. The idea behind this being to learn from each other, get inspired, and start conversations. So for those of you who are joining us live on LinkedIn, you're very welcome to post questions in the chat or the comments. And after we hear from Bastian and Camillo, I will do my best to bring them into a short Q&A that we do after the presentation. But without further ado, I hand over to you guys, Camillo and Bastian. Once again, a warm welcome.
Hello, and thanks very much for the introduction.
Hello.
Camillo.
I'm Bastian.
And we'll start sharing the web. Checking if it's doing as told. You should see the starting page of a presentation now. All right, perfect. Yeah. Thanks. All right, so yeah, in the next couple of minutes, we will take you with us on a journey that originally started in 2019, and we'll shed some light on at least major steps of our development process. But before diving into this project, we'll go one step back to our first contact with Hemro and Mahlkönig. Maybe Basti can say some words.
Yeah, exactly. So the first contact with Hemro Mahlkönig was also a UI for their coffee grinder. And there we also started with a UX research in Hamburg. And there we gained a lot of information about the coffee business and how baristas work. And yes, this was the starting point from the journey with Hemro and Mahlkönig.
And on this device, we just did the user interface, the graphical user interface.
Yes.
So the grinder was already existing. But now let's go into this project. In case this is too small for you, we'll zoom in the next slide. We will take you along our design process, which is covering both development for the digital and the physical aspects of the product. And it starts with research and it takes us into industrialization in the end. But of course, everything starts with a briefing. And yeah, in this case, we were allowed and happy to do so to start from scratch. We were asked by Hemro to create a new member for this rather iconic EK product family. I mean, if you're not too much into coffee, you may never have heard of it, but if you're into this coffee specialty world, then you should know it. And yeah, so plainly the new device should include some digital features. We will see more of them in the following slides. But the briefing was a bit more, let's say, complex than that. Besides this technical layer, there was a deep emotional layer behind. We really needed to keep the fans happy, and kind of, because this machine is so well known, to find the right balance between past and future for this one. And also find a balance between coffee, as by some people really celebrated as a form of art, versus coffee as a product that has quality that should be repeatable. And the question was if we could really achieve both at the same time. The current machine, you see it here, it's embraced by someone, and it's embraced by many people. And it really has become kind of a visual indicator for customers of where to find great coffee. And of course, we wanted to keep this symbolic value of the machine. And yeah, to give you a glimpse of on this world of specialty coffee, it's special in a way. So the current machine inspired people that were tuning it. It also inspired art. There's a copper plate print. I really, by chance, I found it in some very tiny specialty cafe in a small town in southern France on holiday in, I think, 2020. But yeah, some people even have tattoos of the machine. So and there's even more tattoos of it. So people take this machine very seriously, and so it was up to us to not mess up the design and to really keep those people happy in the end. Leading us to, of course, research, and this is Basti's domain.
Yeah. Exactly. So at first we did a research in Switzerland, in Zurich. We had 3 research venues. There were the 2 specialty coffees, and one research location was the Hembro laboratory. Overall, we had about 7 participating baristas. And they were also, store manager of the coffees. So what we did at the laboratory, we did observations. There were 2 baristas from Canada, world-leading baristas from Canada and Australia, and they showed us how they do their filter coffee, and we had also the possibility to for the self-exploration. So they explained us how they do it, and we could also learn the process.
And drink some coffee.
So and drink coffee. Drank a lot of coffee, Then in the coffee stores, we did a contextual inquiry. They showed us their complete workflow from the morning. So dialing in the coffee, setting up the coffee grinders, and also saw the rush hours, about 9 o'clock when the work begins. Everyone buys a coffee, and then it's getting very, very hectically. And after that, with everyone, we did a complete interview with a lot of questions, and gained a lot of information and findings from that. So overall, there were about 187 quotes, very interesting quotes. For example, they believe in digitalization. That makes sense, yes, but they will get rewarded for that in some way. And they really, as Camillo said, like the old machine, the EK43, and couldn't sometimes imagine how this machine could be digitally. So after that, we back in our office, we sorted all that quotes and findings in different topics, and then also write down on the right side the observations we did, the findings, also the wishes from the baristas, and also the problems. Yeah, and then build out there the new features for the new grinder, and write down some recommendations for Mahlkönig. So the main findings were that the EK43 mainly used for filter coffee, and as you can see on the right side, they put their notes how to set up the machine, or put the values there in on whiteboards or on some cards beside the machine. So everything was manually written down. This was some main finding, and perhaps can go to the next slide. This mainly was for filter coffee, yes, but they highly desire to use the EK43 also for espresso coffee, but this workflow takes really time and also space. And yeah, that was the most challenging one to put that in the new machine.
Maybe on this slide, what you see here, also something that is really important. People clean, of course, the machine. On the current one, you really take off the head to open it. What you see here is a rear grinding disc. So this metal thing here, this is one of the two parts that crushes and cuts the beans. And I think the main thing that a coffee grinder does, or the main parameter you can adjust, is the grind size, so which equals the coarseness of the coffee powder. And for that, we need extreme precision and repeatability, of course. And and of course, you want to clean that more easily. What you see here is a tool to center this grinding disc. So this is a feature we could get rid of in the process, because the centering is so exact on its own. You do not need a tool for it anymore. And we will also see how we made the cleaning process easier. So this brings us to the next steps. So use case definition, design concept. So we will kind of cluster all that into one big block. Main use cases for this machine are quite simple. I mean, you grind coffee beans, and you need to adjust this grind size really, really exactly. So the distance between the grinding discs, this is what determines this grind size. And after some CD modeling and thinking, we came up with a range of drafts, and so it's 5. At this point of the project, for the industrial design part, we were 3 designers to get a bit of a bandwidth between those. And I shall zoom in a little and tell you some of the details on these ones. Of course, we want a spread between different styles, from more conservative to more progressive, trying to exaggerate it maybe a little to also, together with the client, in this case with Mahlkönig and Hemro Group, to find out where they see their new product. In the first one, embedded in this draft, of course, are implicitly embedded our interaction concepts. So here you see a rather big screen on the left one, the traditional list, which means that you also have a very, very big rotating knob. And from a certain size on, when you had small hands, it's not possible to rotate it anymore. You cannot just hold it. So we added a little knob so you could do the turning on this knob. We have other drafts like this, the side one, where we even made the screen bigger, and put the adjustment function on the side of it. You could also imagine that here's the start-stop button to actually start the grind. Whereas on this first one, we had the idea that the starting of the grinding could be on the screen itself. So we're really trying to lay down different options. On this front one draft, here the adjustment, it's closer to what it's in the end. We had a coarse adjustment on this black ring in the middle, and the idea was to have a fine adjustment on the silver ring in front of it. But also on this one, the starting and stopping of the grind would go via the display. And the last two ones, they keep physical elements for starting and stopping. On the contemporary one, it's like this pedal that you see at the lower, at the bottom side of it on the right side, which is pretty much the position where the current machine has a start-stop button. And on the monolith, it's also a small button on the side. And on these two, the screen was smaller, but had the right size to have a rotating button that could be easily used. So let's zoom out, go to the next one. Speaking of this button size, the rotatory button, it's really, really important because you interacted with it a lot of times in the course of a day. And so this meant we made very primitive prototypes with just some roll of tapes to check really how big could the size be. And of course, we wanted to maximize the size of the screen on one hand, but on the other hand, we really wanted to get the button size right. So this were like contrary requirements that we had here. And to make it even a bit more complicated, we needed to find early on a screen that was also available. So we got these user needs from research, leading to possible interaction concepts for the interplay of the physical and the digital interfaces. Also considering which displays would be really available. And you might ask, well, it's a round interface. Why take a rectangular display? And the reason is really, back at that time, and maybe even still, you need industry grade displays. So that means availability for a long time. This is a product that is not being produced for 1 year and then you bring the next product, but it's rather a long time. So you need industry grade displays. And between smartwatches, which were too small, and car displays like speedometer displays, which were too big, there was not so much to find. So in the end, we came up with a rectangular display. So along the process, we had 5 drafts. Then, of course, presentation with the client, with Mahlkönig, we discussed. We broke it down to 2. It was decided we wanted this more, or together with Mahlkönig, we all wanted this more traditional rotary knob. At that point, we all thought we would still need a physical element for a fine adjustment. This is the small knob on the side. And it was also sure that we wanted a physical element for starting and stopping the grind, not just have it on the display. What we also took over from the draft were this accessory rail. Here you see like we can have an adapter for porta filters to increase or make better the espresso workflow. And look-wise, we were closer to the existing machine. And then we narrowed it down even more. Of course, in the end, it's 1 product, not 2. And so we took all the things that Mahlkönig loved about the drafts and put it in 1. And this is still not the final form, but very close to it. We did a sleeker foot, and for the start-stop function, we had a push button in the end at the lower end on the side. So let's go to screen content.
Yes, screen content, the interface design. So this process was parallel to the industrial design process. We were a little bit faster. We did 4 design drafts, and yeah, they basically have the design DNA from the project before. So the colors, the font, and yeah, the style was somehow given. And yeah, they decided for the pure one. It was the upper right one, and yeah, so we started to realize that draft. Yeah, perhaps you can. Yeah.
No, sorry. Want to add something?
Yeah, I want to add. So we presented the design drafts, interface design drafts, with some animations, where we can see the transitions. I think that is always very, yeah, a good way to present design drafts to the client, so they can imagine how the future UI will look like. Yeah. So.
Okay. Yeah. So now, yeah, we had decisions for drafts, and now the step or the next steps were to go into serial production at the end of the way. And it's really a long run. Just to give you an idea, this draft phase was finished in 2019, and product launch was in 2023. So this is like the major part of it, to get things really right and get it into reality in the end. Normally we need to split it up in two branches here. It's the upper one is the digital branch, the lower one is the physical part of the product. These interact with each other, but they're running at different paces. Typically the physical branch, the agility of it decreases earlier than for digital, because at some point you need to build tools to build die-cast parts, injection molded parts. You cut steel blocks, and then at the latest point, agility pretty much ends. Whereas in software, of course, you can be agile for a longer part. So for the next slides, we just picked some interesting aspects out of this whole block. Starting with the grind size adjustment. In the beginning, we had a really manual adjustment, and the idea was to have it combined with a digital display of the adjustment. And a motorized adjustment was rather thought of as something that would be a possible upgrade later. And then over the time, maybe some months, there was some kind of change of mind on the side of Renner and Mahlkönig, and they felt like, no, maybe this automatic grind size adjustment should not be an option for later. Let's really integrate it from the beginning. And so, so together with them, we thought about integrating a motor, which also, of course, had effects on the interface in the end. Coming to show you some prototypes before we get back to the interface. So on the left, you see the hinge that we advised for to have easier cleaning. So you do not have anymore to take off the complete head, but you can just swivel it open and access the grinding disc and clean everything during your weekly basis and get it back. And the other thing, amongst many other small advanced things that we integrated, was an outlet lighting. Of course, normally you see coffee powder, not beans, but the handling of the powder is a bit dusty in the bureau. So we partially took beans to have an outlet to let you see, even in a dark bar environment, how the grind is looking, if everything is fine. And so between the time we had again and again testing, like this one, maybe Basti can tell it a bit.
Yeah, so at some point, also the software were running. We decided to do a user testing. So we went back to Zurich again, to the baristas we also interviewed, I think half a year before, something around that, and tested the first prototype. So this was the prototype with the fine adjustment knob on the side and a very early prototype of the software. Yeah, and there we used the eye tracking goggles to see the gaze of the people, of the baristi. And yeah, we could gain a lot of insights there and could see, oh, they are looking at the fine adjustment knob, but they didn't use it at all. They always used the big knob right to the scale. Yeah, then we had some positive feedback. So the red numbers are very intuitive. But also, yeah, with the editing of the recipes, this was not that intuitive. So we had to put more work in it and adjust that for the final version. And yeah, so we gained a lot of information again, put that in the report, and yeah, worked on. So
maybe we go to the next file. We also, before everything went into tooling, we did also, of course, look at field prototypes again in scale, old versus new machine. If the resemblance is enough, but if differences are big enough but small enough at the same time, so really to get it correct. What's interesting here, you still see the fine adjustment knob. So, but let's say caused by the user research or this testing that we did before, we really found, okay, maybe we can omit this fine adjustment knob. And in the final machine, it's not there anymore. But this was really a very late decision we came up. And yeah, so maybe one thing that is important here is to do a real one-to-one scale prototype, to not be fooled by CAD, to really check if proportions are right and everything is correct there. Also, we did physical paper prototyping at also quite late in the process. Another time to refine the physical scale that is silk printed on the cover lens of the display. So here we had really many different options, more numbers, less numbers. We started with like stripes, but they did not turn out to look very nice in the end. And so really try to balance here. In the end, most people look on the digital display, but it's still helpful to, if you do a quick adjustment, you want to go somewhere between 700 and 750, then you can look at the big numbers on the outside and then at the screen. And you also this is like a open door for the more traditionalist users. So they have still this bridge to the old machine, leading to interface design.
Yeah, so in the interface design, we worked really closely with the developers. We worked in the common Scrum sprint-based design process. I think the sprints were about 2 weeks. And yeah, this was unfortunately while the COVID disease, but we were very lucky to have the private HMI interface prototype at home. So I was able to update the latest version at home at my own prototype and then test it and gave feedback back to the developers. So in this case, you see, okay, the touch is not right working. We have to adjust the touch areas, and yeah, I think I sent a lot of videos like that to the developers. Yeah, and on the left side, this was basically how we describe the workflow and the use cases to our developers. We defined touched areas. We defined different inputs like long press, swipe left, swipe right, etc. And yeah, did all the edge cases at the end. This is a really big flowchart in the end. And yeah, so
launching time.
This we made until launch, yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, it was really a long journey. In the end, it was time to launch the product, and Mahlkönig, Camillo, and we were quite confident that it would work. But of course, we were all very excited how the audience, the coffee world, would react. Camillo did a really big show during post trade fair in Milano in October 2023. And there was really great anticipation until finally the machines were revealed to the public, and really taken a lot of photos from everyone. But of course, we asked people, what do you think? And we really, in disguise, of course, we did not tell everyone that we were designers of it. But I think nearly 100% of the feedback was really positive at the event, but also later on the trade fair and also on social media after that. So it seems we seem to have hit the sweet spot between heritage on one side and progress on the other side, which pretty much brings us to the end of the presentation. So thanks for listening so far, and now we would be
thank you very much.
Open for your questions.
Thanks so much, Bastian and Camillo. That was really great, very insightful. Really appreciated seeing those slides with the rough prototypes, and also through to the launch where you have these images of people at coffee events, which I must say I didn't know existed, but of course they do. I can really tell it's been a long journey and many stages and really thorough work. And I know that you've spent a lot of time on the research. So I wanted to ask a bit more about, you mentioned you spoke to baristas. Who did you speak to? How did you find them? And was there kind of a specific market that you were focusing on? And if it was different countries, then how did you use your findings in terms of making the grinder to fit for cross-cultural contexts, if there were differences that you found there?
Yeah, so the research sites came from Hemro, the contacts. So they organized that we can go there. I think at this time, the specialty coffee we visited was also a brand ambassador of Mahlkönig. And yeah, the other two baristas came from, one from Canada and the other one from Australia. So we somehow covered these markets. Honestly, there was no budget that we can fly there and also fly to the Asian market. Yeah, that's a little bit due to the budget. But we
maybe
talked to the.
So yeah, but of course we did some desk research as well, and I think the feeling is that the specialty coffee world, I mean, within coffee, of course, coffee is a huge business, and one small part of it is a specialty coffee world where this grind is aimed at. And my feeling is that it's more similar in itself, independently from where on earth the cafes is. Or you need to know a specialty coffee, and then I think it's pretty similar all over the world.
Right.
I think also it differs from this machine from specialty coffees to a more mass market or other coffees.
Yeah, so
where we have more.
So it's so niche that actually the target group is quite sort of they agree, even though they're coming from different places.
Exactly. It's a global niche. And this makes it,
but a growing
gives it some size, actually.
You already spoke quite a bit about this, but from what I gather, one of the biggest challenges was perhaps making the old meet with the new, and keeping the fans happy, but also making it more digital. Could you talk a bit more about that challenge? And were there times where you felt like you had to go against your own good judgment in order to keep the fans happy, sort of?
No.
And I'm thinking about the interface. So, so we brought in this classic mode. So the EK Omnia have 3 modes: the classic, the recipe mode for espresso, and the library mode for filter coffee. And so, from an interface design perspective, we made these modes. You can switch off these modes. So at the end, you only have the classic. So write the old one. You only set your grinding degree, and that's all. The other modes are off. You just can go to the settings, yeah, but you have these 2 menu points on the side, so that we can catch up the traditional barista, perhaps.
Yeah, that's a good way of meeting both worlds.
Yeah.
Speaking of the display and actual function, you have a question from Franco Gomez dos Santos, and he's asking twice here. So he's very keen to know about the dial. Does it have any tactile feedback, mechanical or electronic, like vibrations?
Okay. Yeah, I think I cannot tell everything by law, so to say, but no, but you're actually doing the adjustment with the dial. So the feedback you get is the like say the real mechanics that are behind it. So we to kind of the motor is not giving much resistance on that. So basically you are turning a screw, to put it plain. So you get tactile feedback as on the old machine. And at the same time you can go automatic, and you can also combine it, like you can do the raw adjustment you can do by this, and some people are sensitive enough to also do the fine adjustment like that. And if you're not into that, then you can just tap and do like 1 micron steps via the display.
Yeah.
It was important for us, I think, because it's a machine with not too many functions. It's grinding and setting this, and I think it felt quite obvious to still have physical interfaces for those 2 things. Just adjust the size and start the grind.
Yeah, and perhaps we have to say, when you use the fine adjustment on the display, so if you increase or decrease by 1 micron, you immediately get the feedback from the knob. It's moving automatically.
Okay, so it does actually have a tactile feedback.
Yeah. It's more or less, it's not even hardwired, it's really connected mechanically.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think this is something that you guys did really well, and that the jury also mentioned sort of that the combination of the touchscreen is really skillfully connected with software and hardware components. We had another question about this when it comes to the use flow. If you designed one use flow across physical and digital touch points, and if so, how do you lead users across the different interaction patterns?
All right, I think good question, Sama, but I think in this case it's a bit obvious because we just kept traditional positions for things, like you start the grind where you used to do it, you set the grind size where you used to do it, and if you choose for the digital way to set it, then you need to learn it anew anyhow. And so it's I would say what do you think?
No, I wanted to say, as the first time you start a machine, we build up a small wizard where we explain the main interaction methods with the EK Omnia, like swiping up, swiping down. And also I mentioned that the long press, this is not that obvious in the first time. You have to learn it. That's due to, I think, the small display. We can put it full of icons. And yeah, there you have to learn some interaction methods. This you can do with this wizard. It's also possible to do this afterwards in the settings, go to information and then do it again. Yeah.
Yeah, that was also something that we were thinking about in the team, like how the machine arrives to you, and if there is a wizard experience that you have a couple of easy steps and then you get going.
Yeah. So basically, this wizard is so it says hello and then explains do we want to, if I show you the interaction methods, and then we have a red dot which shows you, okay, you can swipe there, swipe down, and the interface in the back always reacts on it. So it's the real interface, but triggered through a virtual finger, let's say this, yeah. And then you can go to the next one and then look at it where I have to press, and yeah.
So it's kind of a tutorial on the digital screen.
Yeah.
On a very small screen.
Very small.
Very small screen, yes. This was also a challenge. We've orientated on smartwatches or action cameras. What there are the interaction methods, and yeah.
Yeah, that must have been one of the biggest challenges, I'm thinking, to have this small display, but you have quite a lot of complex information that you need to fit in there and still make it sleek and simple. And you showed us these 4 screens. So how did you decide on which one to go for? Was that also based on the user research or questionnaires?
You mean the design drafts?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, this was basically a client decision.
Right.
So I think all design drafts had their own concept. So like swiping up and down to change the mode, or swiping left and right to change the mode. And there were a few different variants, and then more or less the client decided for the pure one.
Right.
Yeah, but usually we do that as a cherry picking. If they want to have the menu from the draft 1, then they can also have it in draft 3, and yeah.
So combine the logic from one,
combine
the look
the
and feel of another one.
Right.
To say, but I think none of them or all of them are according to the findings of the user research. I think also for the interaction concept that we had on those industrial design drafts combined with the interface design, all of them could be derived from the research.
Yeah.
But in the end, it's a bit of, you could, of course, you can go out and ask everyone which one they would like. This very much depends on the client, if they which way they want to go. But sometimes it's also gut feeling from product management, or a combination from research, client's gut feeling and our feelings. And
yeah, so all interface design drafts had the features from the UX research, like the filter coffee mode, the recipes for the espresso mode. This we showed in all interface designs. Yeah.
That makes sense. And speaking of the client, we have an interesting question here from Nadav about the motivation behind moving to a digital interface over the mechanical one. And yeah, he's questioning if it's innovation, or was there a real need from baristas for a new interface? And as a funny question, asking how many cups of coffee did you drink throughout the project?
Uncountable.
Uncountable.
But I think maybe Basti already was more of a coffee snob before than me, but for this project you
went to a coffee snob.
So, as for the other question, okay, well, I think both,
Yep.
maybe. I mean, it's undoubtable that many products go into a more digital direction. What I found and always find important, and also on this one, that let's not do it for the sake of it, but try to add some value. And I think on this one, it might make sense if you're the complete artist barista, then maybe you go for the classic mode and you're just happy, then you can be even more exact than before, and you have this digital value there on a micron. And if you are somewhere where there's a lot of hurry and stress and everything, maybe you just save some important minutes when serving the coffee. So
yeah, I'm guessing the client had, solid ground to want to start this process of making.
Yeah,
I'd say so. Of course, on the market, there are things happening that other manufacturers have more digital machines, and so there's also some movement.
And you also think of IoT readiness for the future. Yeah.
Speaking of the future, this is something I also thought about, and we have a question regarding AI from Ashish Ramola. Because, so much has happened in the last couple of months. I guess that would perhaps be potentially the next step or not. It depends how reasonable it would be, and if you've thought about integrating AI and machine learning in UX design. And now I'm reading from Ashish's question. How does your approach balance between enhancing user experience through personalized interaction while also maintaining user privacy and autonomy in an era of heightened data concerns? So this is a bit of a wide question, but I guess talk about your thoughts around developing and integrating AI potentially.
Okay. Maybe not for a coffee grinder, I don't know, but maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe yes.
So it's some kind, not that rocket science. I think they are working on it. So on the website of Mahlkönig, you can also see the future of coffee grinding, and also connecting to the coffee, to the portafilter machines, that they are talking to each other. I don't know if AI makes sense in that way.
Maybe more for mass coffee. I think because here we even more we would have this contrast between I want artisanal coffee and I'm ready to pay for it, and I'm not so sure how much automatization is really helping that. But of course, in coffee at all or business of restaurants, cafes, I think there it might get a big role, because you find less and less people ready to work in that business, at the restaurant, at the cafe. So I think it will very likely play a bigger role, but maybe not so much for this particular project, maybe in a broader sense.
It's the auto adjustment from the grind size, for example. So you get feedback from the portafilter machine, and then the grinder automatically decrease the grind size.
But this is not. But this is straightforward calculation. This is not so much artificial.
Yeah, it's not so much AI.
A big language model to do that.
Yeah.
Sure, but it's a good point, because we don't need to use AI just because we can. But speaking of which, perhaps there's a link to that kind of technology and accessibility. Did it play a role in this project? Like, did you design for inclusivity, and if so, how did that work?
No, unfortunately, not that big. No, not that much. So we have a high contrast, okay, but
colors are not so important, but I think it's a bit hard to tell. I mean, it's an artisanal process, so to say. You need your hands to do it.
But you did test for the different hand sizes for
Yeah,
sure.
of course. But I think, yeah, we did not go into that kind of thinking too much, because I think it's hard to do the job anyhow. So
yeah, and as I said, if you're colorblind or something like that, so we have black and white basically.
And
Some
red.
good contrast red, yeah, and orange for the alates and green, but this is also very high contrast.
Yeah, and
And we use
even without the colors, you would find your way through it.
Yes, exactly. So the colors are on top, also additionally to the iconography or to the text. So it's
Yeah. So I guess it's for sure for people who can see and see well, but this is yeah.
I mean, if you cannot see, it's hard to prepare coffee.
Yeah.
If it's fully automated, then it would be okay. But for this particular way of making coffee, it's going to be tough, I guess. Maybe too tough.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for bringing in such great questions today. I actually have another one here from Franco Gomez dos Santos, which says that I believe that physical machines must age and wear out. I'm referring to the addiction of always using the same function. So would there be some degree of understanding or affinity between the machine and the barista being considered? Or is the accuracy of the machine really high in relation to calibration for grinding?
I'm not sure if I got the question straight.
It's a long question.
But we can say the accuracy is very good of the machine.
Yes.
It's about 1 micron.
Yeah. This I remember from when we spoke before.
Yeah.
And it's repeatably exact. So
yes.
Do we have absolute sensors? If the first part of the question was like aging of the machine, could you?
Yeah,
it's about the burrs.
Yeah, physical machines age and wear out.
Yeah.
Perhaps there's also, again, bringing in, if I understand the question correctly, yeah, understanding between the machine and the barista, maybe through some.
Yeah. Perhaps I mean the ages, the burrs are aging, and yeah, there you have to adjust the grinder again. Nowadays they do it every day in the morning. I don't know. I don't think this. Yeah, it depends where you look at.
Level of
what coffee you are. I don't think it will change at the EK Omnia. So you also have to calibrate it in the morning and see if the burrs are okay, and have to clean it up, and yeah.
So yeah. So of course I think the major part that wears out over time are those burrs, the grinding discs. And you can pretty easily recalibrate to put it back on 0. And I mean, after, depending on how much coffee you grind, after years of use, you will buy new burrs. But the rest of the machine is pretty much built to last, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, this was also a point that the jury highlighted, that the machine addresses repairability and waste reduction, which adds to its holistic appeal. Can you say something more about how you worked on those topics of repairability and waste reduction?
Yeah, I think waste reduction, I mean, it's a machine that you invest in when owning a cafe, so it's quite expensive. You spend some money and you want to keep it for many years to come. And it's built that way, and I think there's going also to be a range of spare parts for it. So everything is screwed. really using screws, I mean. So you
Whatever.
can you can replace pretty much everything on it. So it's most parts will probably not ever fall apart, so you can just keep them, but things like the burrs you can change, and also the electronics you can change should they at some point in the future fail. And also you can think of maybe if you after, well, I don't know, 5-6 years, maybe you want a new set of electronics put in, and also that would be possible. So it's a lot of material, of course. It's a lot of aluminum and plastic and copper and now, of course, but the idea is to have it around for quite some time and make a lot of coffee with it over time.
Yeah. I have a question that's perhaps a stupid question, but I saw that somebody else had it on the internet because the ratio of where the coffee beans come out and the stand is quite long, so it feels like there's almost too much space. And when you see also on the videos and the pictures, people are usually holding like a smaller container to catch the ground coffee. So yeah, how did you come up with that space? And do these containers screw onto the, I don't know what it's called, the top part of the machine?
The outlet. So
Yeah.
The outlet. Yeah.
no, they're not screwed on. There's this little lever that we saw there. It's called the knocker because people use it to knock off coffee dust, but it's also a bag holder. So you can, if you're filling a coffee bag, for example, you can just push that lever and clamp this bag in for the time. You can also do the same with cups. For portafilters, we have an accessory that is available there to make that easier. So yes, it's, and as a distance, okay, the main part of the question. It's just the distance that is traditional from the old one. The old one exists in a smaller size, but this is more a strategic.
Yeah, but as you said, Camillo, the hate is also because of the bags. So you can grind 1 kilo of coffee in a very short amount of time. So this machine and also the old machine is very capable of grinding 1 or 2 kilo coffee, and then you have to put a big bag below the outlet.
It's a multi-purpose machine. So it's not really, it's a specialty coffee machine, but in the specialty coffee, it's multi-purpose. And maybe also one thing that is important is it's this symbolic value of it. And it has some hype, but it really highlights your quality, the quality of the coffee you sell. And you really want to show this machine. So it's not that bad that it's big.
So that what I've said with the kilo, the amount of coffee that differs a little bit from the hopper size, but you can also buy additional hopper in a bigger size, so you can put in, I don't know how much kilo of coffee. Yeah.
And it's more if you're a roastery, for example.
Yeah.
This machine is also very often seen in roasteries, so for them it's typical to have larger volumes.
That makes sense. It was
maybe in the future there will be a smaller version.
Yeah, it's actually an interesting answer because it has many dimensions.
Mahlkönig to decide.
Yeah.
And also the old machine is also used to grind. What is it called, Camillo? Sorry, corn.
Okay, like
Grain.
Grain. Yeah, exactly. Sorry. So they always told us they have clients. Mahlkönig have clients who grind grain, and then there are a little bit of stones in that, and it's getting smashed, and they're really grinding everything with that machine. I don't know how this will be with the EK Omnia. It will be interesting, but let's see.
Let's see if they grind grain. Yeah.
Yeah.
Guys, I see that it's already 6 and it's coming
Okay.
quickly for the question time. So that was great. Just one final question, which is always interesting to us. How was it to win the UX Design Gold Award? Did it have some specific impact for Imago or Mahlkönig? Anything you can say to that?
For us personally, we are very happy about this
Good,
prize.
yeah.
I don't know if it's if we had yet some impact. Hopefully, but
No,
I don't know
think
right now.
I think it will have. And yeah, I think we were, I don't know, surprised or very, very happy to receive it. I think we already received UX Design Awards before, never gold as yet. And but I think we were ourselves, this is one of the products we are really happy with, where I mean, sometimes you have products where you think, if I would do it again, I would change this and that. And this is really one that we felt was round and complete, and we would not change anything there. So maybe this was really
and there was
to get that feedback from.
Yeah, it's a testament to what you thought already, but it's always nice to get it from outside as well.
So there was also a lot of passion, I think, from us behind that. And everyone in our office got into the coffee business and was interested in coffee. And yeah.
And many in the office worked on the machine at some point.
Yeah.
Maybe
so also a big thank you to all.
Yeah. And maybe it's also nice to have like a project that is running so long, which is not typical. So the amount of work was untypically much, I would say, and the time was untypically much. So even nicer to get that one rewarded. A big
you have one in the office?
Yes. Yes. but we still need a project with a portafilter machine, because we need a coffee machine. So
yeah.